initials and password games and behind-the-scenes content. Search KFAN on YouTube and hit subscribe today.
Power trip. Power trip. Funny. Yoga pants pressed. Who doesn't like yoga pants? First hour in the books. Hour number 2 starts with 534.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Brought to you by Willow River Company. Question number 1.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
You don't do it now. I'm going to do it during sub-segment today. We got no Rosie for a while. What's your prediction of how long Rosie will be out?
He'll be out this entire week.
Do you think even more
And then
than
he'll be
that?
questionable for next week.
Yeah, I think you're right. And maybe even questionable for the third
We
week.
did get the selfie of him, though, after the post-surgery selfie. We got that taken care of.
Does he think people care that much? Is that photo going to become more famous than the one when he was at the World Series at 11 years old?
Infamous photo.
Infamous photo.
The Twins lost to the Dodgers 2-1 last night at Target Field. Zebby Matthews gave up 2 runs on 6 hits over 6 innings. Unfortunately, 2 of those were off the bat of Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, who both hit solo shots for L.A. Byron Buxton's solo homer was the only offense that the Twins could muster. Colin, what sticks out to you from last night's Twins loss?
Ohtani and Freddie Freeman. Is it Freddie?
Yes.
Was he the MVP of the World Series last year?
Sure.
I thought he was. Those are 2 gamers. I remember, the Secretary of Nightlife, Pat Pohl, Rachmaninoff. John, he was a center fielder for the Gophers and leadoff hitter. And John Anderson, the longtime coach, described him as a gamer. Love gamers. Love people that are ready to play. I was always a game. So I love gamers. And they're gamers. And Buxton hit a home run as well. So there was 3 runs and 3 solo shots. Pretty good pitching performance, I guess, on both ends. It's the kind of baseball game I like. There was a lot of people there. 30 to 35,000. Of the 35,000, 30,000 were Dodger fans, apparently. Deuce went to the game. His gal's in town from Nebraska. She's going to get a job.
Yeah,
here.
baby.
And her parents were with as well. And so they went to the game last night. They might even go again. And Deuce said he leaned over to his gal and said, I think Ohtani's overrated. Next pitch, he hit a home run. So there was the end of the overrated part.
Did Deuce say anything about the concessions, by the way? Because the concessions were supposed to be on strike last night.
Yeah, they were on strike. He did not. I did not.
And then there's more people there than normal. So I was wondering how that went.
He did not discuss it with me. I read a piece in the Fish Wrap Factory West Side that talked about it. It seems as though it went off without a hitch. Apparently, of course, the company talked about how their replacement will be just fine. You'll get the same great service and the same great food you've always gotten. I think they did. I didn't hear of anybody complaining about. I don't know if that concessionaire does what they used to do at Metrodome. Remember when Ethan the Eel McIntosh told us that? Oftentimes these teams will allow, like a high school hockey team or a volleyball team or something, whatever. They'll let them run a concession booth at the game, and then they'll get to keep the proceeds for their club. And it was the 8th inning, and Ethan the Eel started throwing the hot dogs away, and the person overseeing the operation said, whoa, what are you doing? We're throwing these out, and we save those. We scrape the bun off. We throw them in buckets of water and those gallon Kemp's ice cream things, put them in the refrigerator. We heat them up again the next day.
You've got to be kidding me.
We were the ones. It was almost like, what was that show where they would do, investigate? We were like the I team at WCCO. We were doing investigative reporting. They stopped doing that from what I know. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if they did stop doing it, but allegedly they did. They decided not. So that's why I always warn people. I did a public service announcement. I said, if you go to a Twins game, don't eat a hot dog in the first or second inning. Because I would think those would be gone by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th inning. They're probably making fresh ones. So I don't know if they still operate the same way, but I think everything was pretty good. Must have been a fast-paced game. And you look at a result like that and you go, well, baseball, it's a funny game, tend to be. The Twins, one of the smallest payrolls in baseball. with a lot of unproven players, a lot of prospects, a handful of good. Then it's like an all-star team in Los Angeles. Still, it's a 2-1 game. Baseball can be a funny game. Now, today could be a rout one way or the other. The Twins, again, they were, 3 games under 500 going into last night's game. They had a nice road trip, 5-1. Though it's funny, I was looking at the gamers for each, the game stories for each game. It's like one day, was it Tampa Bay? Was that the team we played just before the Dodgers? I think it was Tampa Bay.
No, but Arizona.
Against Arizona, there was one game where the headline says, fielding missed, this is the, bad fielding cost them the game. Then the next game is great fielding wins them the game. So they can't seem to, there's no consistency.
Their bullpen's like that too.
Yeah, exactly. Their bullpen's like that. The bullpen, the other, before I left, their bullpen had one game where it was like, they had 13 scoreless innings in a row. And then the next game they could give up 13 runs in one inning. So, they're hanging around, but, and then Buck hit another home run. I think he's is he tied for first in the American League, or is that all of baseball? I can never remember. But and
at one point he was 1 home run back of the entire Major League Baseball.
And he inched up, I heard, in the you know what I do? I've never really trusted the voting for All-Star games because I think a lot of times that's a popularity contest. Ohtani could be having the worst season of his career, and they would still vote him in, right? Because he's Ohtani. Same with what they would do with Aaron Judge. And we've had this debate before, Tennessee, about All-Star games. Should it be based on what the player's doing that year, or because it's an all-star, some guys should just be in no matter what, right? He's a star, even if he's not having a year that he's used to. I've always thought you should be rewarded for the year you're having. But Buxton apparently now is I think, third in voting in American League outfielders, if I read that correctly, which would be right. He's having that kind of a season. He should be there.
Question number 2. It's time now to consider the course.
This is going to be a Barrero-length question, so go ahead and eat some food. The PGA Tour has approved recommendations from the Future Competition Committee that will dramatically reshape the Tour's competitive structure starting in 2028, the Tour announced today. Among other changes, the Tour's new model will include 2 separate series of tournaments, the PGA Tour Championship Series and PGA Tour Challenger Series, that will run concurrently during the season. The Challenger Series will be the primary pathway to the Championship Series, with golfers competing to advance to the top track, including in-season elevation and with 2 victories. The Championship Series will feature up to 24 events, including 16 signature events, the Players' Championship, 4 major championships, season-ending events, and the President's Cup or Ryder Cup. Each of the 16 signature events will be 72-hole stroke play tournaments with average field sizes of 120 golfers, with 36-hole cuts to the top 65 in ties. Each will have a purse of at least $20 million. The season will run from around February through August. At least the top 90 players in the points list from the Championship Series will retain their membership the following season, and another 20 will be promoted from the Challenger Series each year. Common, do you like this new PGA Tour format?
I have to admit, I don't understand it. I literally was trying to follow along. I know you think that I don't listen at all. I was trying to follow along because I am the official and unofficial ambassador of Minnesota Golf, so it's kind of important to know. Matter of fact, when I get done today, I'm heading out to Hazeltine to go get my media credentials for a lot of letters here, the LPGA's KPMG PGA Championship. What is that? So it's like a major league and a minor league. If you're one of the lesser known players that, there are guys that have, the Bud Cauley, was it Bud or Butch?
Bud
Cauley played on tour for 15 years, survived an awful car accident, and finally won his first tournament. He's made a nice living over the years, but he's only won the one time. So is that what this? Is there the 2 tiers? Will it be the guys that never win?
I don't fully understand it, other than it just sounds like it's almost like Premier League soccer, where you can get relegated if you're not performing well. Yeah, I think they wanted to keep that aspect of it. Of you got to win to stay on, or you got to compete to stay on the tour. But yeah, I don't fully understand it.
I don't get it. I just know that. What do you think was worse for the average KFAN listener? Wyndham Clark's not very well liked, right? Because he kicked in. He's kind of always grouchy. He's not allowed at Oakmont anymore because he kicked in when he missed the cut at the U.S. Open last year. He kicked the locker in, and they told him you're no longer welcome there. He was being booed during the tournament. I watched the last hour of the final round as we were getting ready to go for dinner out in San Francisco. What was less popular? Wyndham Clark winning the U.S. Open or Mark Rosen winning the Power Trip Morning Show U.S. Open pool? Which do you think was
Mark
more
Rosen?
popular? I think more. I don't think anybody really liked that.
That's probably why they were all cheering against Wyndham Clark, is because they didn't want Rosen to win.
Yeah. Mark needs the money. We know that. $1,800 did he make?
The other thing, too, is that the Power Trip made fun of the fact that he initially called him Wendell Clark.
No, he did
instead of Wyndham Clark. Wendell Clark played for the Toronto Maple Leafs back in the day. Or Toronto Maple Leafs.
I guess the old saying works for Mark Rosen, the rich get richer. And the Richard gets richerder, is what he does. Peek at the Purple brought to you by, 534, brought to you by Willow River Company, a family-owned operation. Join their family. They treat you just like family. They're tree crazy there. They got tree experts called arborists, over 10 of them. They'll make sure your trees make sure they don't have some kind of disease or some kind of weird beetle is eating away at the leaves. They'll tell you what to do. They also do yard care. They a planter subscription service. They'll mow your lawn. If it has to do with landscaping or your yard, they do it all. The Willow River, willowrivercompany.com. That's willowrivercompany.com.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4. The Common Man.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah. He's really good. He is a high-quality entertainer that's had a lot of success, a lot of influence.
The Guess Who.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
No. The Guess Who.
Chicago.
No. The Guess Who.
No Time Left For. I'm going to the concert.
Are you?
I have tickets for it, yeah.
You're going to see the Guess Who? You're going to see them take the stage at the new Mystic Lake Amphitheater this Thursday?
That is correct.
We got your tickets in. All you do is send us a talkback using the iHeartRadio app. Give us your 3 songs you need to hear live from the Guess Who this Thursday for your shot at tickets. Full rules available at KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Mine would be Sugar Sugar. I also, no, that's No Sugar Tonight in my coffee, No Sugar Tonight in my tea. And I see you got to hear American Woman. All right. American Woman, stay away from me. It should be a really good show. And, it's not a cover band. The 2 main songwriters, the lead guitarist and the lead vocalist, are all with the band again. They had retired. There was a big lawsuit.
With the band, name the band?
Yeah, well, they went, yeah.
They left for the band?
They left with the band and played with Robbie Robertson and all those guys. And then now they're back with the Guess Who. Not the Who, but the Guess Who.
By the way, I was at the Mystic Lake Amphitheater for its soft opening Saturday night.
Okay.
With all the Minnesota bands and groups. Spectacular venue.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Well, they invested a lot of money, I think. And so, yeah, I've heard nothing but I'm looking forward to seeing that Thursday night. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being there. A tipping question for you, tend to be.
Okay.
When we were, it's a pedestrian city in New York. It really is. I mean, just the way the traffic lights are laid out. They allow the light will change from red, and before it goes to green, they'll give them an extra 5, 6, 8 seconds to cross the road because parking's at a premium there on the coast, right? And people just walk almost wherever they go. It seems like many people do, and that's what we did. We walked a lot. But I had a rental car. Worked into the price of the room was valet parking. I think it was like close to $100 a day. That's how.
I didn't have to do anything.
I didn't have to do anything. And so we with baby brother Peter living, I mean, if he walked from our hotel back, the bank he works in literally was, we didn't even plan it this way, right across the street from the hotel. Same street, right on California, in Drum. So anytime we would be done for the evening, I didn't make him walk home. I would drive him home. So there were times I would get the car from the valet, drive Pete, drop him off, 12-minute drive, 15-minute drive, turn around, come back home, right? Come back to the hotel. And am I supposed to tip the valet guy every time I come and go? I guess I do, right? Because I did.
Yeah.
And I don't know, how much am I supposed to give him? I think I paid as much for the valet parking as I did tipping. I had to go to the ATM a second time because everywhere, tipping this, tipping that. The ATM wanted a tip, but I couldn't figure out a way to put the money back into it. Hey-oh. I thought that was funny, but it really wasn't. Right? You tip them every time, right? And then how much do you tip them?
It's hard to know. And there's so many different things you got to tip for now. It's hard to know what the rules are. And I would think valet, just every time or two, you're talking $5-10.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
But the interesting one, and I think I brought this up with Max because like I said, I was at Mystic Lake Amphitheater Saturday night, right? And me and the two boys, by the time you're done with your getting your burgers and fries and getting some water to go with it, it's $80 to $100 for the three of you.
Correct.
And then now all of these places now, when you put your card in, it gives you the option, right, of 15%, 20%, 25%, yes. Which, when you are at a restaurant, I'm a very healthy tipper. My wife used to be a server. Like we have high levels of respect for the serving. We will tip well every single time.
Sure.
But they are constantly checking in with you, right? I mean, they're taking their order, they're getting your drinks, they're getting your refills, they bring out your food, right? So they are deserving of the 20 to 25% range. But if you just go to like a Deuce when he was at Target Field last night, if you get a burger and fries, all they're doing is throwing it on the register. They walk back 5 feet, pick it up, and then give you the food. And yet they're still asking, still the prompt is asking for 20 to 25%. And at the amphitheater, when your meal is already $80 to begin with, we're talking a $16 tip for you to walk back. So I always feel guilty when I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to give you a, $4 or $5 tip as opposed to your $16 tip. But what you did was not worthy of 20, 25% of that dollar amount.
Well, and I've even found myself now where there is a difference in waiters and waitresses. Some are very attentive. They're really good at what they do. They check in a lot. They time it just right. Everything's good. There are some that will just come and see you take your order, go, bring it back, check in maybe 10 minutes later. How's everything going? Great. And then they don't come back and then they want the check. And it's like, well, you didn't really, that's not a 25% tip job. But then you feel bad, like you say, it's like, well, maybe they're having a bad day. You had a bad day. You took a look around. And so I don't know, but the valet parking guys, because I was coming, they would even say, well, that was a short trip. Oh, yeah, I just drove my boy home. They got tired of seeing me, I think, after a while.
Well, if you're tipping every time, they'd be happy to see you.
They actually probably were. Here's what you were asking about the concession workers, hospitality staff. Fish Wrap Factory West Side says workers go on strike at Target Field during busy Twins-Dodgers game. Hundreds of hospitality staff are on strike as they push for higher wages and health care from employer Delaware North. Concessions and merchandise workers went on strike and picketed outside Target Field Monday as they pushed for better benefits. Labor dispute came at the Dodgers-Twins game that drew 35,244 fans. More than an hour before the gates opened, up to 100 people picketed by the main entrance on Target Field Plaza as replacement workers went inside the ballpark. Nearly 500 workers, represented by United Here Local 17, are participating in the strike, union officials said. They're demanding $20 minimum pay, access to health care, and job protections from their employer, Delaware North. Shay Freeberg, Secretary Treasury for Unite Here Local 17, said the workers would rather work. They really believe in the union's priorities. Some workers had been out with signs at the ballpark since the morning. On Monday afternoon, the crowd chanted for a new labor contract and yelled scab at their replacement. 255 replacement workers. Here's where it said, Pete Spike, general manager for Delaware North at Target Field, said, all concession stands and hospitality areas will be open, fully staffed, and serving the same great food, beverage, and service experience our guests expect. I don't know if anybody out there listening went last night and noticed any difference. What I don't know, Tenneby, is, there's the demands by, the $20 minimum, right? And then they want healthcare access and such like that. And I don't know what Delaware North is offering. But do you think where the strike is concerned, either side will make any concessions? I'm just wondering. We'll break. We'll come back. We got more nonstop nonsense. Tom Foolery and skullduggery around the corner on the Common Man program on the Fan.
The Common Man.
I couldn't stop wiping away tears because I thought it was such a brilliant
Treasure Island this year, including Joe Bonamassa.
I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden.
On August 15th, Snoop Dogg.
It's a wonderful night for a moon dance. Do, 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 do.
On September 5th, and Ron White.
The night they drove old Dixie down and all the people were singing.
October 17th, get the complete details on all our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Couple 13-14 past. I'm Common. He's Tenneby. This is a story. It's starting to gain a little momentum here. Tenneby. It says NBA insider hints at potential Anthony Edwards trade. This report says Anthony Edwards is reportedly frustrated with the Minnesota Timberwolves following the Karl Anthony Towns trade, which has led to increased defensive pressure on him as rival teams prepare potential trade packages. Insiders suggest Edwards' long-term future with the franchise may be in question due to roster concerns. Minnesota Timberwolves offseason has suddenly erupted in widespread speculation. Fresh reports indicate the growing frustration behind the scenes could soon put one of the league's brightest young stars on the trade block. According to ESPN reporter Tim McMahon, much of Anthony Edwards' frustration comes from a major roster move. It says the NBA vultures are swirling around Ant in anticipation of him potentially becoming the next superstar who's available in the trade market. Team's decision to trade away all-star big man Karl Anthony Towns completely changed how opposing defenses guard Edwards. Without Towns' lead outside shooting to draw defenders away from the basket, teams have routinely thrown double teams at Edwards, forcing him to work much harder for his points and causing major on-court frustrations. It says Ant was really frustrated throughout, really just been frustrated since Towns got traded, and now he gets double-teamed. As speculation grows, several high-profile names have already entered the conversation, with the Timberwolves being loosely connected to multiple stars across the league. McMahon says, if I were to handicap all the possibilities out there, I think Kyrie Irving is a more realistic possibility. You're hearing some other names start to just kind of get thrown around the rumor mill. You're hearing Kawhi Leonard. You're hearing maybe a little bit of Jalen Suggs and other names. Meanwhile, ESPN insider Brian Windhorst suggests that Edwards may not be fully convinced with the current direction of the team. He says, and so going forward after this series, the Minnesota Timberwolves' future in question somewhat because of what Ant feels about the roster. Where else did I see a note? It's from the Fish Wrap Factory West Side. Chris Hine, who covers the Timberwolves for good or ill, and right now it seems like ill, he writes the same thing. He says his all-star guard, Anthony Edwards, unhappy here. And then he talks about these same quotes from, hold on, whoops, yikes, give me a second. It says, despite the exit from the NBA playoffs and the trade of Julius Randle, Edwards is unlikely to request the Wolves send him to another team, but that still hasn't stopped the NBA world from speculating. And it says, ever since LeBron James announced he was taking his talents to South Beach, there was always been there always has to be an NBA who's next, as in the next big superstar who's going to want out of their current situation via trade or free agency. The incessant drumbeat, which plugs up social media and creates hours of podcasts in the NBA world, can follow players for years. It did with Damon Lillard. It did so with Antetokounmpo, after several months of holding the league hostage, finally agreed to trade to Miami. That was earlier today. Well, Timberwolves fans, those drum beats have come for Anthony Edwards, and they're not likely to leave anytime soon. Hines says, I opened social media to see prominent NBA voices like Ryan Russillo and respected reporters like Brian Windhorst and Tim McMahon of ESPN discussing the matter. That's in addition to the Wolves echo chamber that exists on X. An echo chamber that wanted Julius Randle off the team badly, but now that he is gone, has talked itself into Edwards leaving as a result of the trade. McMahon said the NBA vultures are swirling to see if Edwards is going to want out, especially after the Wolves moved off Julius Randle's contract in a 3-team trade Monday. Those guys are as plugged into the league as it gets. And in my own reporting from non-Wolves league sources, you hear the same things. Everyone wants to know what Edwards thinks. Now, multiple sources close to Edwards dismissed the chatter as just that. One said there was no truth to any of it. Another reiterated Edwards and his team love Minnesota, and they think being here in this location with this franchise is the ideal situation. Side note, some will point to Edwards telling Atlanta's Jalen Johnson, I can't wait to come home during the All-Star break as proof Edwards wants out. If there's a place I'd bet against Edwards going if he ever leaves the Wolves, it'd be the Hawks. There are a lot of people who want Edwards' time and attention who can't access it, and he's in Minnesota. Taking away Randle elevates Nasri to full-time starter, should help space the floor, blah, blah, blah. Teneby, and again, until we hear from Edwards, and I don't think he's probably going to say anything publicly, these guys sort of, once the season ends, most of them, I think, take it, they, I don't want to say run for cover, but they just, hey, season's over. I've got nothing to say. And they kind of disappear. When he first said that, was caught on Mike telling Jalen Johnson he couldn't wait to come home, I took it as, you could take it as he couldn't wait till the season ends so he could go back home to Atlanta. I don't know if he lives here during the offseason or if he goes back to Atlanta. I don't know if anybody
I don't think he lives here.
Yeah, so I think he goes back to Atlanta probably. So maybe that's all he meant. Or maybe, I think he was pretty tight with Big Meow, right? He leaves, and that happens in sports. And Edwards, I don't remember him being vocally adamant about it, being against the trade or anything. But then you see what happened last year. They don't even, as we just, as was talked about in that article, and as we discussed, teams were just basically doubling up on Ant. They did it during the playoffs. They did it during the regular season. And as was stated in this piece, without Edwards, without Ant, without Big Meow being able to, to draw defenders away when he's on the outside shooting the perimeter, maybe one of the best shooting big men in the league, it made it more difficult for Edwards. And now with Randle gone, we talked about this earlier in the show. So now you elevate Nas. Now there goes your sixth man. I don't know who becomes the sixth man now. DiVincenzo is going to be out probably the entire year, right? It's very difficult to come back from. How... You never know. Edwards seems the type that wants to win. He stated as much. Sometimes, Hine kind of dismisses the idea of him going to Atlanta. Well, I can understand that because Atlanta's not very good, but if that is your hometown and you think that there is an opportunity for that team in the next few years to get better, if Edwards goes there, that might be a desirable place for other free agents to go. Atlanta could become a place that players do want to go. And again, these are all just...
Well, if Atlanta is the destination, then is it really about his frustration here in Minnesota, or does he just want to be home, right?
Yes.
If it was he's frustrated, he doesn't think they can win here, he wants to go where they can win, then I don't think Atlanta would be the destination. So
you wouldn't think, right?
There might be different motives behind it.
Yeah, so I don't know. And again, like I say, off season, I don't know if we're going to hear from Ant or not, but players do get frustrated after a while and want to leave. We talked about LeBron wanting, the taking my talents to South Beach, and he eventually did. We've seen players. It happens yearly, where players they'll be stuck in a situation where, they're stuck inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. They're in a situation where they're not getting anywhere. They're spinning their wheels. The team is 500, a couple of games above 500, maybe get to the playoffs, get bounced. They just don't have a roster that's deep enough, like you'll see with your OKC's and your San Antonio's. And so these players eventually get frustrated and want to leave. I mentioned this in talking with, last week I was talking to Jake Maurer over at Maurer Chef, and he said in baseball, players, first you want to make it to the show and play well enough to stay there. I've made it. I'm a big league ball player. Next, show me the money. You want to make the money, right?
Yeah.
And then once you make the money, the third is the championship. Ant made it in the league, first round draft pick. He's turned into a star. He's gotten paid the money. Now does he want the championship? And they get frustrated. And if now all of a sudden, well, we had a pretty good nucleus when we had me go, if you're Edwards, you're thinking it was me, it was Edwards, it was me, it was Big Meow, it was Gobert, it was McDaniels, it was Naw. We had a pretty good club, and nothing lasts forever. And then all of a sudden, Big Meow's traded. They bring in DiVincenzo and they bring in Gobert, and that team gets to the Western Conference Finals before getting dumped. Then we see what happens this year. You only get to the semifinals before you get out. And so then it's like, you could see where a player, if winning means more, because he's got those first two notches. He's made it into the league. He's become a superstar with the big money. Now it's the championships. And if he doesn't feel like it's going anywhere forward, we talk about windows all the time, Tenneby. How open is the window? We talk about the Wild. I think there was a quote from, I read so many stories when I came back to try to get caught up. I thought I read a quote where Guerin said something in effect is, the window is not 3/4 of the way open for us. It's open, and so that's why they will leave no puck on saucer pass in the relentless pursuit of trying to improve this club. And you wonder with the Wolves, Western Conference playoffs. Now Randall gets traded. DiVincenzo's out for a year. Doesn't mean that the window's shut totally or even permanently, but you do wonder if he will want to go elsewhere. And boy, if you lose Ant, it's. I don't want to say you board up Target Center, but you get pretty close.
You at least get a haul for him.
You would. Well, you would indeed.
I obviously don't know Ant personally. I don't know what he's thinking. But I do wonder if some of these reports are just clickbait kind of stuff, because he really hasn't ever shown publicly that he doesn't want to be here. And while they haven't gotten to the NBA Finals and he hasn't won a championship, they've been knocking on the door. It's not like, like Garnett had, what do you have, like 6-7 one-and-dones in a row before he got, then they had the Western Conference Final run, and then he finally got sent elsewhere. Like, Ant is still pretty young, in his prime. They've been knocking on the door for 3 years in a row. It's not like this franchise has no hope. and Ant's got to get out of here or else he's never going to have a shot.
This text message says...
Unless he just wants to get into the East and get away from Wemby and SGA.
Well, this one says, he'll 100% leave if we don't look like we're going to win one in the next couple of years. Let's not be naive. And
I'm sure a couple of years,
that is certainly true. I think most players get that way. You know, we talked about this last week with Buxton. Buxton is having, I'm not looking at his numbers right now, but arguably he's having one of the best years he's had, certainly in a number of years, right? I mean, he's hitting for average, he's hitting for power, his fielding is always top notch. But he has said he wants to finish his career here. And he seems to be happy. He said all the right things. And him and Royce Lewis at the beginning of the season talked about, you know, we can build this thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's going to stop us now. So he seems like somebody that does want to continue to play here. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to win. You could read into it that he doesn't care about winning if he wants to stay with the Twins, because this team has been, you know, you look at their record right now, where they're on what are they, 4 games out of first place, I think, at most. But that's because it's a weak division. And so.
In a weak league.
Weak league. And so, you know, but that can still give hardcore fans and players, you know, the ones that aren't the negatives, the people that aren't, haven't been ground down by it all, like me, where you just, well, get back to the American League Championship Series and get back to me before I get too excited. So, but again, if Edwards were to leave, it's pretty much board up Target Center. I mean, everybody's looking. You got to have the one player to build on. And there were rumors that maybe Antetokounmpo, you know, that the Wolves made a real push for him prior to the trade deadline. I don't know how close that ever came, if those conversations ever got serious or not. I don't know if we'll ever know. I don't remember anybody saying we were this close. But now that he's been traded to Miami, there's no chance of him coming here. And then, as was discussed last week when we were speculating about a possible trade for Antetokounmpo, you'd have to give up a boatload to get him. And then all of a sudden you got, same with Irving, you have 2 really good players, but do you have anything around them? I mean, it's pretty, I guess you can win with 2 really good players, but it's pretty hard to if you got nothing around them, right? You still have to have competent. You have to have competent pieces around that can do the things the team needs them to do overall to make them a successful franchise. And we saw what the Knicks did. I mean, they're now, that's why, you know, immediately following the Knicks World Championship victory, it's funny, it's like flavor of the day, right? Well, for the longest time, Tennessee, you had to have 2 players. You had to have Jordan and Pippen. You had to have a 2-player combination, then you could win.
Kobe and Shaq.
Then it became 3. I got to have 3 guys, really. And now it's become, you know, you really don't. I mean, Brunson wasn't really even considered a superstar before this season. I don't think he was considered a really good, great player, but I don't think he was mentioned in the same breath as your LeBrons and your Antetokounmpos and your Steph Currys and those kinds of players.
Well, I think the new NBA rules are going to make it harder and harder to kind of have the 3 stud players and have a dynasty over a 5, 6, 7 year stretch. Because even New York, after they win the NBA championship, owners like, I'm not going above the second apron.
Right.
So, like, they might have to ship out a Karl Anthony Towns or someone of that stature at some point because they can't afford to keep them. Oklahoma City already has had to trade away a player, and they're going to have more financial issues. San Antonio is going to run into it at some point. At some point, Wemby's going to get his massive deal, and they have a lot of good young talent around him, and they're not going to be able to keep all of it.
This one says, Ant did say he wants to play football after he walks away from basketball, so maybe he's trying to get away from the Vikings. He did say that, but
before he got drafted.
Well, and he also said, after I win a title. That might never happen. And again, we've seen it doesn't happen often that a player changes, goes from one sport to the next. This one says, whoops, wrong one. This one says, Wolves will be in the Eastern Conference by 2028 when Vegas and Seattle get a team. The balance of power could shift by then. And it could. I mean, it could shift to the point where the East becomes the strongest, right? We don't know right now. It's been the West and has been for a number of years now. And, you know, from what I've read, I don't know if Minnesota to the east is a slam dunk. I still think Memphis and New Orleans are part of that conversation. And then who knows what goes behind the scenes, who makes those kinds of decisions. If you're going strictly by geography, is Minneapolis-St. Paul further east than both Memphis and New Orleans?
Memphis is.
Memphis is. So there would be your argument.
The argument Minnesota could have is you got natural rivals with Milwaukee and Chicago that we don't currently have.
Yeah, that's true. You could even say Detroit too, But this one says, at first I thought, well, that's got to be nonsense, but maybe Ant's seen Big Meow win a championship. He's taking a second look at ownership, not willing to be in that second apron as a lack of commitment. The second apron, it's not just they make building a team even more difficult. There are lots of poison pills that come with going over the apron. So it's not just the money and the luxury tax. It's more, I think it affects draft picks and free agency. I think there's I don't know the entire list of things, but in what I've heard is if you're on that second apron, it's not just a money thing. They make it different. They don't want it to be like baseball. They don't want one or two teams, the teams in the biggest markets that generate the most income with local television and radio broadcast rights to have all the best players, and that makes sense too. We'll pause, come back, another hour to go. No Rosen for a while. He had successful knee surgery, and what I'm told, Tenneby, he's already back in the kitchen, perfecting his craft. Inspired by his recent trip to Italy, he's currently making a fake Neapolitan pizza.
I always love that one.
A Neapolitan pizza. Who do you think wrote that, Tenneby?
More Amsterdam guy.
You are correct. Wasn't too bad. It was worth a rim shot. We'll break. We'll come back. Another hour to go. Comment on the Fan.